Hello everyone, this is KosakChess and that is round number 2. It is over. Today we have a double round, so we played the second round at 9:30, so we probably both didn't have that much time to prepare, so I decided to use the magical trick of Vasily Ivanchuk. My preparation was that I play e4 and then we will see what will happen. And this was my motto during my whole game. That's why I play e4, and then c5 couldn't surprise me because I wasn't preparing at all. So I played a normal Sicilian, no, normal open Sicilian. He played a6, and then I recall some Vasily's words, which he also told in this interview, that in his game, when he said this famous motto, he decided to play solid. Uh, in Polish Championship, I went for Sozin variation, or Fischer variation, bishop c4. But it's pretty dynamic. It's really totally non-solid variation. But Vasily was solid, so did I. Bishop e2, e5, knight b3, bishop e7, castle, castle, rook e1, bishop e6, and bishop e3. I used to play this variation several times with quite a good results. The idea is that we wait for for some action from black. Normal development, this rook e1 might be looking as a mysterious move, and I agree with you, but sometimes this rook is useful when black wants to break through with the move d5. After e takes d5, this rook opens and it may attack the e5 pawn. So this is a really subtle move, but sometimes it's useful. Knight b7, normal developing move, and the move a4. I remember that rook c8 has been played against me. Karol Kacprzak played this on semifinals 2022. Jakub Seman played queen c7 with the idea of putting this rook on c8. And my opponent Defna Nikush, because I didn't say anything about him. He's a player from my year 2002, so we are on the same age, and he's an Indian player, so of course, a dangerous one. So also playing solidly against Indian players might be quite a good idea. Knight b6, pretty logical move. I didn't already know what to do after it, but I decided to play quickly. I played the move a5, knight c4, bishop c4. I was also calculating bishop c1, but it looks a little bit passive. This knight is still standing on c4. And after rook c8, I was thinking of some ideas like knight d5 to close the communication between bishop and knight. Rook a4 is coming, so maybe something like this works. But he has several options. He can take on e4, which was a little bit concerning me, because after bishop c4, rook c4, knight b6, rook b4, this rook is, its position is, I don't know even how to describe it. It looks like this rook should drop off the board one day, but I can't really attack it. After c3, there's rook b3, and etc, etc. And even if he doesn't want to go into such complicated variations, he can just go for something like this, bishop d7, and this knight is still annoying me. So I decided to go for bishop takes c4, bishop c4, and knight d2, because my idea is to push these queenside pawns to gain some space there, because this is the side of the board I should continue the play. He played bishop e6 and then knight a4 with the intention of pushing these pawns, maybe also planting the knight on b6. Now, after knight a4, I quickly realized that he can play the move d5, after which I didn't prepare any concrete answer, because after d5, bishop b6, as I told you, this idea of mysterious rook e1 may be coming. I can grab a pawn, but not yet, because he plays queen b8. And after d5, knight d5, he protects everything. So to be honest, I was not really sure what to play after d5. Maybe he also, because he spent almost above 20 minutes and he played knight d7, which is also a pretty reasonable idea, I think. But d5 was concerning me, and I didn't really know what to do. Maybe something like knight c5. maybe to attack this bishop. And if he gives up the dark square bishop, I should be fine. But I think black is perfectly okay there. Instead, he went for knight d7 and I played c4, continuing my intention. Bishop g5, real logical move to exchange this dark square bishop. This is a really common idea in Sicilian. Bishop takes g5. I was thinking of b4, but without this bishop, I realized that he can open the position on the queen side and play b6. If he opens this b and c files, he can attack these pawns, and they might be not my strength, but they might be my weaknesses after a b6, knight b6, knight b6, queen b6. Now he targets the b4 pawn. He can put the rooks on this b and c files, and I wasn't ready for going onto such position. I was also thinking of the move b3 to play solidly, then to maneuver my knight to f1 and e3. Sorry, I didn't silence my phone. Should do it right now. Pardon, guys. With the idea of knight f1, knight e3, maybe to plant this knight on d5. But I don't have a time for it because now queen a5 idea works. Maybe I didn't mention it, but after my knight a4 move, he couldn't grab a pawn on a5 because knight b6, and there is a double attack on the queen and on the rook. So bishop g5, queen g5, and b3 right now. Again, my idea is knight f1, knight d3, knight d5, but I missed totally bishop h3 idea. And, if he can weaken my light square bishop around the king, it should be okay for him. Like, this bishop is annoying. The g2 square is now vulnerable, so I have to play g3. At first glance, I thought maybe queen f3 works, but bishop g2, a real nice intermezzo. And after queen g2, now there is queen d2, and he's healthy pawn up. And also he is targeting the a5 pawn. Sorry for my slow motion, but I don't have a mouse, as I mentioned you in the recent video. Queen f3, yes, bishop g2. So I should go for g3, but then he opens the position with f5. Okay, I have hour of advantage on the clock, which is of course a good. Maybe it was the decisive reason. But okay, don't spoil the facts. E takes e5, queen f5, and f3. I don't really want to make such moves like f3 or g3, but I was made to make such moves. Knight c5, really good idea, because after knight c5, dc5, he opens the position, he opens the d file for his rook. So it is a good way to develop pieces. At first, I thought that I have knight c3, and maybe knight d4 in the future, knight d5, this d6 pawn is a weakness. But after knight d6, with the idea of knight d4, I didn't know how to get rid of this knight on d4. I don't really want to play knight d2 because I'm starting to play passively, although it's a good prophylaxis. But these knights are... These positions are not the initial ones for the knights. So after some calculation, I took the knight, I played the move queen e2, rook d8, and knight e4, and I prepared all of that. Now, let's realize that he can't take the pawn on f3, because at the end of the variation, I have knight g5, creating a double attack. So, after knight e4, I was kind of happy, because I can target the pawn. I have some ideas like knight f2 and g4 in the air. Maybe not now, because always remember, if you move the pawn which is around your king, you always weaken the position. Always. You always weaken the position of your king if you move the pawn which is around him. He played the move queen c8, and let's see, he left 5 minutes on his clock. Queen c8 looks passive. Maybe it's good because he wants to allow his bishop to much better position, but somehow I don't like it. I thought maybe during the game that something like queen h5 might work for him, or first rook d4, yeah, just to activate the rook. I thought maybe knight f2 and queen h5. Something like rook f3 might work. And there are some ideas, like I didn't calculate it that deeply, but he can even go for something like this. Although maybe there I have queen e4. I am not sure. I saw something like this. Maybe I am not getting checkmated. but maybe, like, I am guessing. Um, Queen c8, I was a little bit relieved that he played something like this. I went for knight f2 and chopped the pawn. And during the game, I thought he's going to go for bishop c6. After which I would play f4. Of course, I am weakening totally the light squares around my king. But this knight is apparently pretty good defender. He defends everything. Also, I'm targeting the c5 pawn. So it may turn out that I am just healthy pawn up. Instead, he went for rook f3, after which I prepared something somewhat like a good trap. Queen d5, rook f7, rook e7, bishop e8, and rook e1. Now realize that can't take the queen on d5 because rook e8, rook f8, rook c8, and cd5, and I capture one of these two rooks, and I am piece up on the end of the variation. So after rook e1, he went for king f8. Probably he needs to go for this. Maybe bishop e8 was unnecessary. I thought during the game that maybe rook f8, but after taking on f7 and playing knight e4, something like knight d6, knight c5, queen f7 even is the threat. I thought that my position is becoming better and better. But he went for this position, queen e5, h6, knight d3, activating my knight. Let's have a look that I always have advantage on the clock, which maybe caused the biggest troubles for him because he left only 3 minutes on the last 9 moves before the time control, and always I have a lot of pieces around his king, so this position is of course not pleasant for him to play. He played the bishop c6, and I'm pretty sure this is a fatal mistake. He should go for rook e7, queen e7, and king g8, sacrificing the c5 pawn, but not getting checkmated. Like, this is the first priority, right? Not to get checkmated. And after queen c5, even maybe he can exchange queens and go for some endgame like this, where his bishop is amazingly placed on c6. He crosses all the board along this wide diagonal. Rook d2 maybe is coming. His pieces are active, so he may count for some compensation for that sacrifice pawn. And if I play knight c5, he can play bishop c6, and something like rook e8 is coming. Something like rook d2 is coming. You know, these two squares might be occupied by rook. And after knight d6, rook d7, he defends everything. And, well, of course, I am still pawn up, so I can try many things. But this is definitely the playable position. Instead, he went for bishop c6, and after knight f4, I think this is a crucial idea. This is the big difference. Because after knight f4, rook a7, we may transpose to the same position, queen e7, king g8. But I give a check first, knight g6. Also realize that something like knight d6, knight g6 ideas, they may be so annoying that he probably should chop off this rook. If he goes for something like queen f5, I think I can take on f7, king f7, queen f5, and queen f7, knight d6. I am winning the rook and winning the game. So he went for rook e7, but knight g6, king f7, knight d7. This is the really big important thing, because now with the knight on e7, I cover the g8 square, I cover the g6 square, so his king is stuck and soon gonna be checkmated. He played queen g4, so he defended from rook f1, because after rook f1 he has bishop f3, and he is maybe, well, after maybe queen e3 the position is still lost, but I went for simple knight c6, bc6, queen e7, and I win the rook. So after knight 6 my opponent resigned, and well, I won a game. I played quickly, so I am happy. I am obviously happy. But again, let's have a look that the last 5 moves of mine was with the knight. Where with the knight? Knight d3, knight f4, knight g6, knight d7, and knight c6. So we did a reversed tango dance comparing to the first episode of this tournament. Let's have a brief look with the engine. We play the knight dwarf, blah blah blah, bishop e2, so this is all the theory, knight d7, a4, knight b6. Okay, so this is also a move, bishop c4, and okay, knight a4 and knight d2, probably it leads to the same position, so knight d2, bishop e6, and knight a4. Yes, d5, of course, d5 is equalizer, like, whenever I play knight dwarf by myself, so I know whenever you can go for d5, and it works, you should go for it. Like, if you don't blunder anything, you should open the position with the d5. This is just a typical idea to not become with this weakness on d6 for the whole game. So yeah, what should I play instead? Knight f1. And what if he plays d5 right now? Maybe this bishop b6 ideas. Okay, and I can target this pawn. So knight f1, aha, and bishop b6, knight e3. So it makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. For example, rook c8. Let's say bishop b6, queen d7, and knight d3. And I can go knight d5. Okay, I get it. I play knight a4, knight d7, c4, bishop g5, bishop g5, okay, queen g5, and b3. Yes, b3 is dubious. Yeah, of course, b3 is dubious. Rook e3. Yeah, now I know. Now I'm clever. I shouldn't allow for bishop h3. Yeah, rook e3 is a really good move, because even in some variations, I saw something like this. I have rook d3, and I can target this d6 pawn. So rook e3 makes perfect sense. I played b3, bishop h3, g3, f5. Now he opens the position. Position. He can attack my king. Knight c5. Okay, he should go rook a d8 instead, but okay, these are knight b8. Yeah, there are some ideas. Maybe I didn't see in that exact position, but ideas to planting the knight on d4, where I can't get rid of him by my pawn. These are really annoying ideas. Instead, he went for knight c5, dc5, queen e2, rook a d8, knight d4, queen c8. Yes. Oh, you see, queen h5, the best move. Rook d4 is the second one, but yeah, queen h5 is the idea, just to take the pawn on f3 with the rook. Might be unpleasant. Instead, he went queen c8. And yeah, I felt during the game that I could go for rook a d1, but when I saw this variation with queen d5, rook e7, I couldn't resist. Knight f2, bishop d7, queen e5, rook f3, queen d5. Yeah, bishop c6, f4, and I have stable advantage. Okay, so rook f3, queen d5, rook f7, rook e7, rook f8, rook f8. And what are we going to play after? Yeah, rook f7, knight e4. Queen e8, the only move. Because queen e3 and bishop c6. So I missed it. Probably you both missed it, because if he saw queen e8, let's now have a look that knight e6 is losing because queen e3 and bishop c6. Because I have to go for the white diagonal. Ooh, saucy. Bishop e8, rook a e1, king f8, queen e5. Yeah, now I think I'm getting only better and better. Knight d4, knight d3. Sorry, good move. Because of course he can't take the knight because rook e8. Wow. Bishop c6, knight f4, knight e7, knight c6, and I won. Okay, so my result right now is 1.5 out of 2. Expect the next round, because the next round is at 4 p.m. A double round. This is the only double round in this tournament. After this, we are going to play only single rounds. So today I need to just go for some rest, and I hope you enjoyed this recap. The conclusion is okay. I played solidly against Indian player. This is really important, and I also played quicker than him. Don't know if I played quickly in general, but quicker than him. Which in critical position he left 3 minutes, which is definitely not a great amount of time you should have. And I was definitely in the more comfortable situation, and this is one of the reasons I managed to convert this advantage. Thank you very much for your presence, and yeah, keep your fingers crossed, and see you in the next recap. Bye bye.